staggering how much debt that they're going to be piling on. We're talking about when you add in future interest costs, when you add in macroeconomic effects, we know that from the score that they did for the House that it grew. So it may be $3.3 trillion in the initial score from CBO, but it's going to get close into $4 trillion of additional debt.
So what do you think of this current policy baseline and the fact that there's a vote on the floor today? What's become of Washington when this is considered normal?
Well, I mean, they knew what answer they were going to get from the parliamentarians.
Well, I should say so, yeah.
So they just decided, okay, we're gonna dismiss with that, and we're going to move this along. And the thing is that it's just such a ridiculous policy. It's just it really boggles the mind that they would be going down this route, adding trillions of dollars of debt, and just trying to sweep it under the rug.
Yeah. Well, you know what Republican senators would say to you, and we'll be talking to them throughout the day, is that you're not factoring in the growth here, Steve. What happened in the first administration is we cut taxes, we saw growth, and then COVID happened, and we can't really account for what happened after that. But you're going to see growth that is not accounted for by the CBO because they refuse to do dynamic scoring, and you're probably blue in the face by now because you hear the same arguments that I do.
But they do dynamic scoring. I mean, that's the whole macroeconomic effects. That was actually what ended up costing in their scoring the bill more in the House. It went from $2.3 trillion to $2.8 trillion when they took into account both the macroeconomic effects and then increased interest rates, and we're going to have to service that debt.
Yes.
And we spend $1 trillion today servicing, or this year servicing that debt.
So what does Steve Ellis think when you're reading in the morning and you see the White House suggest that all we need to do is cut interest rates by 1, 2, maybe 3 points so we can have less interest to pay on the debt? Is that the solution?
Certainly, it's not going to be good for markets to be manipulating it just to try to make sure that we don't have to pay our creditors back as much.
Right.
And so, I mean, this is a ticking deficit time bomb. The One Big Beautiful Act.
There's going to be a potential now for a conference committee, or does this pass the Senate no matter what happens here on the floor? You've been doing this for a minute, and then there's something called a manager's amendment in the House, where the House effectively allows the Senate to jam the House of Representatives, and they vote on what we're seeing come together now.
Yeah, I mean, certainly it seems like they're trying to grease the skids. They've been involving the Speaker's office to try to make sure that whatever they get done can pass the House. I hope it can't. I hope that there are some fiscal conservatives that are there to say, this is enough, and we need to be fiscally responsible, and we can't just lie to the American taxpayers about the cost of the bill.
Wow. What are you hearing at Taxpayers, then? You're talking to lawmakers and staffers. Is this as good as done?
I mean, it certainly, this bill has had momentum, and the president has shown his ability to get things over the line.
Well, he's going to call you in primary if you don't vote yes. Ask Tom Tillis.
Yes. Ask Tom Massey from Kentucky.
Ask Tom Massey.
Yes.
He keeps showing up for work, though.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and so I think that that's going to be a real challenge. Now, I'm hoping, again, that fiscal conservatives weigh in and say, $4 trillion, $3.8 trillion is too much debt, and that we need to rein it in.
By the way, Don Bacon is not going to run for re-election. This is getting to be untenable for fiscal hawks. Do you feel like you're on an island in Washington?
Certainly, fiscal sanity is taken.
How different is it than 30 years ago when you started this?
Well, I'll put it this way. In 2000, our national debt was less than $6 trillion. Wow, it's $36 trillion today.
Wow. Well, okay, so what are we going to do? We're going to pass this bill in our remaining moment. We're going to start talking about blue ribbon panels, right? Simpson Bowles, I don't know. We're going to creep up on this debt limit. I guess they'll handle that, assuming this passes. But there's going to have to be some conversation about cutting deficits here to keep the bond market happy, to keep Wall Street satisfied? No?
Yeah, absolutely. Not only that, it's that Social Security is going to become insolvent in 8 years' time. Yeah. So there are other issues that are at play that aren't really even in play right now. And so certainly we've got to have a fiscal reckoning. And the bond market, you're right, that's the thing that's kind of spooked the president on tariffs. And so certainly it gets more costly for us to sell our debt.